Picture a Victorian wedding. A young bride in white lace, a proud groom, church bells and flowers everywhere. This fairy tale image was carefully crafted, a symbol of romance and respectability. But behind the lace veil, many women faced a much darker reality. The wedding was often the start of a life of legal and social confinement. Promises of love masked a reality of control and submission. The public image was just that, an image. In private, many women found themselves trapped. Victorians valued appearances above all, hiding anything that didn't fit the perfect picture. Unhappiness was a private shame, never to be discussed. This silence allowed suffering to thrive behind closed doors. Novels and paintings celebrated romantic love, but the truth for women was often brutal. The wedding wasn't just a ritual, it was a legal transaction. A woman left her father's home only to lose her legal existence, financial independence, and personal freedom to her husband. The dream was powerful, but the reality was a harsh awakening. Victorian marriage was less a fairy tale, more a gilded cage. The law called it coverture. A married woman's legal identity vanished, absorbed by her husband. She couldn't own property, earn wages, sign contracts, or write a will without his permission. Everything she brought into the marriage became his. She became, in the eyes of the law, his property. Husbands had near absolute power. They controlled where their wives went, who they saw, and how they lived. If a woman tried to leave, he could legally force her back. The law enforced power, not love. Even in good marriages, a woman's subordinate position was inescapable. If things turned bad, the law offered her no protection. Victorian marriage created a profound imbalance of power. A woman's rights, property, and identity belonged to her husband. She was legally a shadow. Society demanded the angel in the house, the perfect, pure, obedient wife. She was to be the family's moral center, devoted to her husband's needs, her own desires set aside. Her value was tied to her virtue and reputation, before marriage virginity, after absolute fidelity. Men, meanwhile, faced no such standards. Their affairs were often ignored. Obedience was expected. Wives promised to love, cherish, and obey. Disagreement was seen as unfeminine. A good wife was a quiet wife. Women were blamed for their husband's failings. If he strayed or drank, it was her fault. The burden of respectability fell on her shoulders. She was expected to be perfect, even if her husband was not. Victorian women walked an impossible tightrope. For many, home was a place of fear, not safety. Domestic abuse was common but hidden. Husbands had the right to discipline their wives. The law and police rarely intervened. What happened at home was a private matter. Divorce was nearly impossible for women to obtain. Trapped, some women turned to secret diaries to record their suffering. These diaries reveal the daily reality of abuse and despair. With no escape, a desperate few turned to poison. Arsenic was cheap and accessible. Poison became a last resort for women with no other way out. When these cases reached court, they shocked society and exposed the horrors behind closed doors. The respectable surface of Victorian family life hid deep suffering. For some, the only way out was deadly. The legacy of Victorian marriage still shapes us. The struggles of these women sparked the first wave feminist movement. Laws slowly changed, but the fight for equality was hard won. Modern ideas of partnership in marriage are recent. For centuries, the opposite was true. Double standards and the pressure on women to be perfect persists today. Domestic violence remains a challenge, echoing the past. Recognizing this history helps us understand why change is difficult. Honoring these women means acknowledging their suffering and courage. Rights must be fought for and protected. The story of the Victorian wife is a vital chapter in the ongoing fight for women's rights.